What's up, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, and we're about to get up in this thing, man. We got a few good things to talk about here tonight, guys, so I'm going to wait and allow some of you guys to get up in here. Let me share the stream out. Let me send it to a few special people here. You guys know how I always do, and we'll get it cracking here in just a moment, man. Give me just a moment. I want to say what's up to everybody, man. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I hope everyone enjoyed, the football games that we saw this weekend, even though, we didn't have an opportunity to play in these games. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So give me just a second, man. I'm going to send it out to my father-in-law, Leonard, my brother, Tony, and my cousin, Floyd. And then we'll get it cracking, man. And, I'll greet some of you guys, and then we'll jump right into the commentary. Got some good things to talk about here tonight, man. And I know some of you guys are probably stumped, by the title that I have there. But we'll see. Let's get it cracking here, man. Give me just a second here. And we will get her moving. So what's up, good people, man? Let's do the quick roll call, and then we're going to jump right into this thing, man. 30 minutes and out. All right, so let's see what we got. A. Whitfield, what up, what up? 2K God, Eli Coolin, Brandon Yancey, Joe Bob 19 Full, John Lopez, Michael Garman is in the building, and many others I'm sure will be joining here shortly. I'm sure Tony will be in here, so I'm going to say what's up to Tony early. What's up to Tony? And what's up to Kenyon? I know Kenyon. There he is. Look, I look right over and look who pops up. Kenyon and Tony. What's up to those fellas? What's up, Nays, Taquan Wiggins? And we're going to give a shout out to the lady of the Terrible Towel, audience. Debbie, I know she'll be in here sooner than later, so we want to say what's up to Debbie. So, all right, now that I got a few of you guys in here, man, I'm going to talk a little bit about the playoff games that we just saw this past weekend, the championship games. Talk a little bit about that, spend a little quick time with that. We'll talk a little bit about, what's currently going on in the organization. Not a whole lot, just still a couple of latest updates and, enlighten you guys on a couple things that I'm seeing out there. And then we're going to talk about what I have in the title, me talking about Keith Butler not being the problem. And I know my brother Kenyon wants me to elaborate a little bit. And again, guys, just going to put some things in perspective. Is not saying that Keith Butler shouldn't be shown, the door, and not necessarily saying that Keith Butler hasn't done everything, the way that we would want him to. And I'm not defending him or anything like that. I'm just going to put some things in perspective to show you guys how it could be a little worse, and it might not necessarily be all Keith Butler. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of the playoff action. Man, New England Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl. I hate seeing that, man. And listen, I don't have any ill will towards the Patriots, not at all. I don't hate those guys. Listen, they have been a great team over the years. Whether we think they cheat or not, everyone is going to have their opinion. You can't deny the greatness of Tom Brady. Tom Brady delivers in the clutch. He does what he has to do. Gronkowski makes one heck of a catch. Great coverage by Eric Berry. And it was just a 50-50 ball. He threw it up there. Gronk made the play. And Josh McDaniels, you got to give Josh McDaniels credit for the way he offensive coordinates that team down the field, as well as Tom Brady. Tom Brady clearly, knows exactly what play to call and when, as far as, his checks. And let's give a shout out to Tony Romo. Can I give him a round of applause? Boy, that Tony Romo was spot on, boy. I think we need to bring him in as a defensive coordinator, because he definitely knew exactly what the Patriots were wanting to do. But again, man, I hate to see them in there for one reason, is that I'm just tired of seeing the same teams. I mean, 3 straight years as Patriots again. Like, come on, man. I like to see new blood in there. I would have loved to have seen the Chiefs in there to see how the young boy could handle that pressure. Let Andy Reid get another crack at a Super Bowl. You think he's been a great coach. And, I'm cool with seeing the Rams. The Rams getting in there with McVay. That's the storyline. But I would have been cool with the Saints getting back there as well. Allow, Drew Brees, definitely, the way his career has been, it'd be great for him to get more than one title. So, I was hoping to see those type of matchups, the Saints versus the Chiefs or Rams versus the Chiefs. But here we are, Rams versus the Patriots. it is what it is. Now let's talk about some things that were called in that game. You know, one in particular, one of those catches I think could have been overturned. I know it was close. The punt, you know, where I think if you called that Edelman did touch it, again, it was clear that it didn't touch his arm, and it was even clear from the head-on shot. It didn't look like it hit his thumbs or anything like that, but there was another shot where it definitely looked like the ball grazed his thumb, and the glove, you know, the material of the glove actually bent back. I don't know. I think it was too close to say, you know, it was conclusive. So I feel like you should have stepped with the call. It is what it is. But then the roughing the passer on Tom Brady, come on, man. I mean, what else Chris Jones supposed to do? Didn't hit the man at all, you know, and they called Russell, you know, they basically came over his shoulder. And I saw, I forgot who it was. I think it was Dr. Mel, man, who, you know, a lot of times commentates and writes on Still a Depot. She said Jones got accused of smacking Tom Brady's nipple because he clearly didn't hit him in the head. But I think that was an egregious call. Whatever, man. But we can't put everything on the refs. Patriots got there, and we'll see what happens. Now, let's go over to the other game. I'll spend real short time here. Saints got robbed, man. And listen, I don't believe in the whole karma thing. You know, people can say it was karma because of what happened in this cause that they got against the Steelers. I ain't going to say all of that. I don't believe it was the same referee crew, and even if it was, it went against the Saints that time. It was just bad officiating. You know, Nickel Roby, that was pass interference at its best. And if it wasn't pass interference, it could have very well been defenseless receiver. If it wasn't that, it could have very well been helmet to helmet. And they wasn't calling any of that. I remember saying earlier in that game, I forgot who it was, man. I remember tweeting it. I was saying so-and-so needs to be careful because there was it was Littleton. You know, Littleton from the Rams, right? I tweeted it earlier in that game. I said Littleton needs to be careful because he's leading with his helmet, and he did it twice in that game. And I wrote out on Twitter, I said, man, he needs to be careful with that because, you know, if the refs peeped that late in the game, it could cost him at the wrong time. It never did. But by me saying that about him, I guess they were just letting those things fly because that was pass interference, man, clearly. And at that point, you can run out the clock. You can win the game. I can't say that that's the reason why they lost, but they did lose because of that situation. I mean, they had more opportunities to win the game in overtime. And even earlier on in that game, you jump out to a 13-0 lead. I'm just saying. But, yes, did they lose that game because of that? Yes, they did. In that very moment, you got to say yes, they did at that very moment. Horrendous refereeing. Horrendous. So enough of them, man. Let's get into some quick Steeler news, and then I'm going to definitely dive into what I have in the title there. I know some of you guys are ready to bust my chops over that. Rooney spoke out. He said quite a bit. I think if you guys have been able to hear, you know, what he's been saying, there's a lot of things that you can pull from what Art Rooney is saying. You know, he's basically saying that Antonio Brown is more than likely going to be traded if he continues to behave the way he is. Still no communication between Brown and the organization, being owner or coach. That's not a good sign. And Antonio Brown is just acting a fool out there, man. You know, I'm waiting to see his interview. He keeps saying it's coming. I'll listen. But I just think he's approaching it the wrong way. Even if he wants to get traded. And what scares me at this point is he going to scare away potential? You know, guys who might want to take a chance. Is he going to scare away some customers that we could potentially trade him to? You know, the value of our trade value is actually going down the more he behaves the way he does. That's concerning. But then at the end of the day, man, even if you're saying that we're going to leave the light on and it's not completely closed, how do you repair it? How do you repair that and the other, you know, guys in the locker room are going to be okay with it? So I think it's a no-win situation at this moment in terms of what the fans want. I think what's best for the team and the way that Antonio Brown is behaving, it's time to let him rock, okay? Time to let him go, and it looks like it's going to be that. Here's some other news. And I'm going to save a little bit of this until I get into addressing the title of the video. So, Rooney came out and basically said that, you know, it's a collaborative effort as far as defensively with Coach Tomlin. and Keith Butler, right? But then he also said, I read something earlier today that was pulling from one of his interviews. He said that even the coaching changes, you know, he basically deferred to Tomlin. Now, will we know if all of that is completely true? We will never know. You know, I believe Kenyon, you know, came on here and he said himself that we all should remember how the whole Keith Butler situation played out when Dick LeBeau was there. So clearly Butler is a organization favorite, right? So we'll never know the truth. But I found it interesting that Rooney, AR2 as they call him, you know, he basically deferred everything to Tomlin, saying Tomlin makes these decisions, you know, as far as who goes, who stays. Now, some people are going to read into that a little too deep. Let me caution you guys before you go too far. Again, the Steeler way, for the most part, they wait until guys' contracts expire. Okay, and they simply just don't renew the contract. So you can call it a firing if you want, but it seems like that these things always happen at that point where we're going to just let the contract expire and we won't bring you back. Now, as far as James Saxon, I don't know what the situation was there because, again, AR2 alluded to the fact that there was a Tomlin opinion and you know, decision. I don't know what the situation was there. None of us do. Who knows? Maybe it's a culture change. I don't know. But then they grabbed this other guy, and I'm sorry that I can't remember his name right now. It's right on the tip of my tongue. And he coached at North Carolina State, a younger guy. You know, of course, he's going to have a relationship with Jalen Samuels. We'll see what happens. But I think Saxon, from what we saw, Saxon has been good, but we don't know the ins and outs. I will never know why that decision happened. As far as Joey Porter, I understand I could see that happening, man. We haven't really seen the value of Joey Porter being there as a coach. I know that was a tough decision for Tomlin with them two being close, you know, and even close in age and things like that. And he made that decision as well. So, again, I find it interesting that, you know, he didn't come right out and say that Tomlin has full control, which I don't believe he does. But he basically deferred to him and said it was his decisions. So it makes people wonder, well, how come, you know, he decides to keep Danny Smith? Good question. You know, we'll never know. Again, if you look at the positive versus the negatives, Danny Smith, you know, the last 2 years we have gotten more punt blocks and field goal blocks under, you know, his tutelage the last couple years. What we're not doing is returning the football very well in the punt return and kick return game. So what I have mind seeing Danny Smith, you know, get the axe and maybe we bring a new innovative guy in, sure. And the guy that they hired for the running back coach, again, why can't I remember his name? But the guy from North Carolina State has special teams ties as well. So we'll see. Maybe he'll have his hand in the pot and help out Danny Smith. Now, here's another interesting fact I want to give you guys. And yeah, I see Scott is just pointing it out. I was just about to get to that. Morgan Burnett. Let's keep his name in mind, okay? And I'm going to tie all of this together here in the end. I'm even going to show you a play. I'm going to show you guys the play from the Saints game, the 3rd and 20 play when we played them. Now, Morgan Burnett is out here asking to be released, okay? Basically, what he's saying, just to paraphrase, is he feels like he wasn't, you know, playing the position that he wanted to play. He wanted to be, he wants to still be a contributor as a safety and not a dime linebacker. And basically, guys, when you're in the sub package or in the dime and you're playing, you know, up as a linebacker, you know, Palomalu did it. You know, in some of his latter years, we were using him as a sub linebacker when we were in like the 3-3-5. Basically, a guy who's capable of being able to tackle and play against the run, an athletic guy with, you know, with a little size, as well can, you know, play and guard tight ends out of the backfield, you know, if they're lined up that way or if they're lined up inside. You know, a lot of times how you see them utilize Gronk or even outside. Okay, that's typically the reason why you have 3 safeties on the field. You get that matchup versus a linebacker, etc., etc. Okay, Morgan Burnett, excuse me for a minute. Was you not injured? Was your health not a problem? Okay, were you slated to be the starter? Let's remember, because I know all of us can remember, us who really keep our eye on the Steelers. You know I do. Morgan Burnett was in the starting lineup. Was supposed to be the starter. Okay, Terrell Edmonds was supposed to be the guy that was being groomed up, and Terrell Edmonds was going to be the guy that was going to be the dime backer. Not Morgan Burnett. Morgan Burnett didn't stay healthy, okay? He got injured early, had to throw the young man in there, had to thrust him in there, got injured again, had to thrust the young man back in there, and once he got the hang of it, they decided, listen, this guy's a first-round pick, we might as well let him play. And Morgan Burnett became the dime backer, but mainly because you were not healthy. Now, he does have a point. Maybe he is more suited as a safety. And let me see, Tony is probably texting me. See, this is why me and Tony are brothers. The title is actually brother-in-law, but we are brothers to the heart when it comes to Steelers, and we always on the same page. He just gave me the name Eddie Faulkner. That's the guy that we hired as the running backs coach, younger guy, again, from North Carolina State. But Morgan Burnett, you have a legitimate cry there. Maybe you would be better as a free safety because you clearly can't run the way you used to. And I'm not beating him up. He's just older. He's older now. He's 30 years old. He's older now. And how many plays did we see where he's chasing a guy down the seam? Do I have to recall the Raiders game? I'm just saying, how many games have we seen where he's chasing a guy? Can't necessarily run no more. Now, he also made a great play on the 3rd and goal at the end of that game where he comes all the way across the formation and swats the ball down because it wasn't a whole lot of space to run. So he's probably correct. Maybe as a free safety, he might be able to still do that because a lot of times you make that transition, i.e. a Charles Woodson. Woodson was once a corner, but then he turned out to be a decent safety because now he's a little older. If I'm not mistaken, Rod Woodson did the same thing. So I get it, but let's not sit here and act like, it's groundbreaking news that, oh, you want to leave. Like, you're probably going to get cut anyway because of the cap cost and because of your performance and not being able to stay healthy. So come on, man. Stop piling on to something that's probably going to come true anyway. All right, so the next thing I want to address really quick. Let me bring it all home. So Bob Sutton, okay? Bob Sutton was fired today by the Kansas City Chiefs. All right? Now, if you watch the championship game, you would say, wow, they had basically 3 consecutive thirds and longs. 3rd and 10, if I'm not mistaken. The very shortest, the least amount, it was 3rd and 8, I think. But if I'm not mistaken, it was about 3rd and 10 each time. Brady converts. Okay? It was like pitch and catch. Every single time they would motion Edelman. Edelman goes across the middle of the field. Boom, they hit him every time. And then they hit Gronk on a slant, or Hogan, one of those guys, on a slant on that drive as well. Bad outing. Now, what's the difference between Sutton and Keith Butler? Have you guys looked at the Kansas City's defense for the year? Kansas City was ranked 31st in the league, people. 31st overall in this year's season defensively. That's a whole year's worth of bad defense. You can kind of understand, okay, the season is over. We're going to go elsewhere. Don't get confused and think that he got fired just because of that game. Let's not do that. Because they had a great game plan against the Colts. Worked out for them. Defense showed up against the Colts, right? We all were like, whoa, where'd this defense come from? Unfortunately, when you go up against Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, it didn't work out in your favor. And being displayed on that stage, it doesn't make it look good. The same way when we played against the Patriots in Foxborough in the AFC Championship, even though our defense wasn't that great, they started playing better later in the year. It showed its ugly head in that game and they got exposed. That's the same thing that happened to the Chiefs. But remember what I just said. Sutton got fired. It is my belief because of the accumulation of the season. 31st ranked. And then if you lose in the championship game the way you did, yeah, okay, I can see it. You're giving up big time runs, you're giving up screens, you're giving up everything, and you can't stop these guys on 3rd and long 3 consecutive times on the final drive. That might warrant a firing. All right, so let's get to the nitty gritty. Can't believe I'm saying this, man. And let me make sure my father-in-law is in here because I haven't looked over. Let me see. There go Leonard. What's up, father-in-law? I know you ain't you probably can't believe what I'm about to say, man, but y'all ready for this? Wow, it's already been 20 minutes. Let me try to speed this up. Dare I say, guys, that Keith Butler is not the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers defense hasn't performed. Dare I say that I might be able to understand why Keith Butler hasn't gotten fired. One reason, because obviously, like I said earlier, guys, the way the Steelers usually do business, they just don't bring you back after your contract expires. He's still under contract for another year, if I'm not mistaken. There you have it. That could be a reason. But there's physical evidence that I'm about to show you guys, or verbally read to you guys, that would prove why Butler might not be the problem. First, let me show y'all the play. Let's bring this up. And a lot of you guys have agreed with me throughout the year, and a lot of you guys will say, it's talent. We don't have the talent, okay? And we also, you know, there's some coaching situations. Now, before I give Keith Butler credit, let me give him some blame. What do I blame Keith Butler for? Being too conservative. That's number one. Number two, I blame Keith Butler for being very predictable, okay? You've heard people say this about us. You even heard Breeze say as much. We're very predictable in situational football, okay? And it's been said that, and it's funny, that James Harrison seems to think that Tomlin runs the full defense, which I don't believe that. And then you hear AR2 say that it's a collaborative effort. You look on game day, most of the time, you're going to see Keith Butler with the play sheet. Tomlin sometimes has a small sheet. Does he make some calls? I'm sure he does. But who's running the defense and making the defensive play calls? It's Keith Butler. At least that's how it appears to all of us. Well, let's scratch all of that. Whether it's Tomlin or Butler, I'm going to show you some things. Now let's pull up this play, guys. And I know this is going to hurt. So I'm sorry in advance. Let's play it. We're going to run it in regular speed first. Then we're going to come back and break it down. Now this was 3rd and 20. And matter of fact, hold on. Let's start this over because I want to see exactly. Yeah, look at that. Steelers are up 28-24. 3rd and 20. A minute and 41 seconds left. 3rd and 20. They're on the 32-yard line. Okay, proceed. Regular speed, and then we're going to break it down because it's something that I think we are all forgetting that Keith Butler said, and I mentioned it after the game, but I wanted to come back to it. Look at this, man. 3rd and 20. Goodness gracious. All right. Remember when Keith Butler said, and I don't know if everybody watches all the interviews like I do. I'm just a crazy fanatic, guys. Let me adjust my hat a little bit. Keith Butler said, we had some guys jumping some things that they shouldn't have. We didn't execute. We went into quarters coverage here, guys, and I'm going to show you everything that happened here. Now, whether you guys, agree with the quarters call, that's different. Now, we can all sit here and say, well, maybe you should have ran something else. A lot of us are going to say maybe we should have blitzed. Okay, now let's stay on the blitz. Let's run it regular speed one more time. Let's look and see. Oops, let me put it in regular speed. Let's look and see just how much time Breeze actually had to throw this ball. Let's see. Decent amount of time. Okay. Some would say, why didn't we blitz? Well, got a good point, but here's the problem. There's that predictability again. Every time we blitzed in this game, trust me, I went back and watched. It didn't get home. It didn't get home. And we would telegraph the blitz. For the most part, we bring Hilton. It didn't get home. I wasn't sure of that until I went back and watched this game a few more times. And I said, oh, okay. Now it makes a little more sense. Yeah, I would like to see them blitz and at least try it and try to get Breeze off his spot. Don't give him enough time. Excuse me. But if you watch the game in its entirety, you'll say, man, the blitz wasn't working. I guess they felt like put as many in coverage as possible. They got to go 20 yards. I guess. But also, Keith Butler said later that week, We jumped some things we weren't supposed to. Guys have to execute. And remember, I came on this show and I tried to give all the credit here. This is where I try to give credit to. Blame rather. I try to give all the blame to Mike Hilton. In reality, the blame is actually pointed at the guy who wants to be released, Morgan Burnett. Now, some people would say, well, Sim, how do you know that? How do you know it was Morgan Burnett's fault? Well, I'm going to do 2 and 2. I'm going to put 2 and 2 together. This is quarters coverage, guys. And the Saints are running what's called a dagger route. They're going to allow these guys to clear out, and then they're going to run something underneath, okay? Cover 4, you cover your quarter, you cover your quarter, you cover your quarter, you cover your quarter. You cover the intermediate quarter. And, you know, if you guys play Madden, which I know they don't really use these terms in the real world, but for you guys that play video games, here's your curl flat, okay? You're playing a curl flat. You guys are pretty much playing like a 3-receiver hook, and sometimes, you know, I've seen some teams mix it up and they'll even throw a mid-read, you know, in a cover 4 to get one more guy deep. I don't know exactly how we were playing it. It looks like we were playing more so of a, you know, 3-receiver hook, or maybe you know, yeah, that's probably what we were playing here, because basically you want these two guys. This guy is going to look for anything out in the flats, and then both of these guys are going to look to see if anything crosses. Okay, they're looking for drags and crosses. Now, it's situationally, you have to understand where you are. Let's proceed. Everybody doing what they're supposed to. Bam. He doesn't have any work. That's Joe Hayden. So he can start cheating over, because there's nothing over here. The only thing he got to look for is somebody that's going to break back outside. It's probably not going to happen here. So he can start cheating. I believe this is Terrell Edmonds here. He wants to cover this guy. Anybody come into your area, now you're going to start turning this thing into man coverage, because these are all vertical routes. So you're going to convert all of this to man coverage. And these two guys can play the underneath. You keep an eye on him. You keep an eye on the crosser. But you got to give him a little bit of depth. Get a little more depth, because you don't have to run up here. Look where it, let me see if I can show you guys. It'll show it in the next frame. But look at where the sticks are. You don't have to play everything short, because you have to rely on your ability to close and make the tackle, or your guys back here to see where the ball is thrown, close, and make the tackle. All right, so let's proceed. So Mike Hilton, he's actually in good position, because at first I tried to blame him, but this isn't on him, because here are your 4 deep guys. All these guys can definitely take care of that. Mike Hilton is looking this way, and he's looking in the backfield, so he can read what's happening here. Now, you know, if he wanted to be a little advantageous and chase this guy, yeah, but technically you also are here to help anything on the backside. So Mike Hilton is here also to close and make the tackle. Remember, this is the curl flat area, your intermediate. So Mike Hilton can also peel off and come back to this guy if he ends up in this area. All you are responsible for doing here is just keeping everything in front of you. Remember, Keith Butler said we had guys jumping things they shouldn't have on that last play. Who's he talking about? If you're looking at this coverage, who could he possibly be talking about? Take a look at Morgan Burnett. One more time here. Watch Morgan Burnett. Look how fast he jumps that. He's all over that. And look where Drew Brees throws the ball. Right here. All you have to do is read the quarterback's eyes and keep your depth. Now, who's to say that he wouldn't have got the ball in there still? But you make it a much harder throw. Look how easy of a throw this is, because he's already committed. And that's what Brees is reading. Brees is throwing it to a spot because the man ain't even made his move yet. He's not even there yet. And Brees throws it right to that vacancy. Wide open. Morgan Burnett. Now, again, some of you guys can argue, should they have gone with quarter coverage right here? I don't have a problem with it because theoretically, you should have had this covered up for the most part, or at least you force a short throw, probably to this guy down here, or perhaps him, and you rally to the football and make the tackle. And maybe you give up 10 yards, maybe you give up 12, but you still, at that point, have a 4th and 8. See what I'm saying? Morgan Burnett. Let's show it to you one more again. Then I'm going to read to you guys some statistics. I'll read some of you guys' comments, and then we'll be out of here. Look at this. This is very important. I want y'all to pay attention to this. It's gonna line up with everything I'm gonna say. All right, look, pause it. Y'all see where the sticks are? Look down in this area once I move this bar. Look at this. You see that? This guy has so far to run if he catches it across the middle here. You got plenty of people to rally to the football. Situationally, we have to execute better. All right, let's take this off the screen and let me get to my point. All right, guys, like I said, this is not the most popular opinion. I don't think we can blame Keith Butler, man. Oh, wait a minute. We got a donation from Mahir Yezriel. Round of applause. Appreciate the donation, my brother. I didn't see that initially, but I appreciate it. My man said he's from the Boogie Down, and y'all already know I got ties to the Bronx, so shout outs. And shout out to the one person who disliked the video. I apologize that I'm not entertaining, but it is what it is. I appreciate your true feelings. All right, so let me get to my point really quick. This is why I don't think we can blame Keith Butler, guys. I'm going to blow y'all mind real quick, because some of you, some people don't go this far to read all of this stuff. Once upon a time, myself and Tony and maybe a few other Steelers fans, we said, man, if we could only be in the top 10 defense, can we just get back to the top 10 again? I'd be happy with that. That would mean that we can make a few stops here and there. We can play just enough good defense to allow our offense to perform, and we have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Let me read y'all some statistics here. In 2015, the Pittsburgh Steelers were the 21st ranked total defense. You got me? 21st ranked total defense in 2015. 2016, we had improved up to 12. We were 12th overall in 2016. Y'all following so far? 2015, 21st. 2016, 12th. Now let me read y'all some statistics from last year. Sacks. We were tied for first this season at 52. Okay? Last season we were first in sacks at 56. I know sacks don't always mean anything, but once upon a time, 2, 3, 4 years ago, we were complaining about us not getting enough sacks. That's improved. This past season, guys, we ended up being 10th against the pass. 10th against the pass. However, last year, y'all ain't gonna believe this, we were 5th. We finished at 5th against the pass last season. Now let me interject really quick before I go further. So we bring in Terrell Austin as a senior assistant with heavy emphasis on the secondary. It got me to thinking, are we making those kind of moves because, yeah, we saw a dip in pass coverage, even though 10th ain't bad, but we were 5th the year before? Are we thinking that maybe we need somebody else to help Bradley, or maybe we need 2 voices to get some of these inexperienced guys up to speed in the secondary? Interesting. Total defense this season. Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for this? We finished 6th in total defense this season. 6. Last year, we were a little better than that. They had us at 5th total defense last year. So, okay, we went down one spot. But here's the point I'm making, guys. One more. Let me give you a few more stats. Do y'all know where we were at interception-wise this year? We were ranked 28th. 28th in getting interceptions defensively. Almost the bottom of the barrel. And we just missed it by just a few. The Pittsburgh Steelers were number 1 in dropped interceptions in 13. 13 legit dropped interceptions by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we were ranked 28th in getting interceptions. The Steelers' turnover ratio this year, -11. Big Ben Roethlisberger threw 16 interceptions this season. A NFL league leading 16 interceptions, -11 in turnovers, differential. And the Steelers dropped 13 interceptions. But what I really want to focus on, guys, are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Keith Butler has brought us, now I'm going to say whether it's him or Tomlin, because some people now are claiming it's Tomlin. Whoever it is that's running the defense. Since 2015, we've come from 21st all the way up to 6th. And at one point, 5th. So here's my point. I agree with everybody who's going to say, but we don't get it done when we need to. I fully agree. Matter of fact, I'm going to give us all a round of applause. Here's the problem with our defense. We didn't make the plays when we needed to make them. Just like those Kansas City Chiefs the other night. Too many times we gave up key third down situations. In Oakland, we give up on 4th and goal. We got one play to make. Okay? Against the New Orleans Saints, it's 3rd and 20. I just showed y'all. 3rd and 20. It's 3rd and 20 and we can't make the stop. So if we want to criticize the coaching staff, I'm on board with situationally. I agree. But here's the catch, guys. I'm ready to start believing in my opinion. Now, listen, I'm not saying that because it's mine, but I'm leaning more towards what I always say. It's a big emphasis on the players on that field. We don't have the playmakers. We don't have the guys that we need to get the job done. We don't. And because of that, the coaching has to put them in better situations. You know, look at what Belichick is able to do. And I hate using Belichick as an example because let's face it. Bill Belichick is a one-in-a-lifetime coach. So we got to stop comparing everything to, well, New England, because, you know, shout outs to my father-in-law, Leonard. That's Leonard's calling card. Well, New England. But who else is Bill Belichick? What other team has gone to the Super Bowl the amount of times they have? What other team has gone to the AFC Championship the amount of times that they have? And win the division the amount of time? We can't keep comparing things to one team. Just like there was one Michael Jordan at the time. You understand what I'm saying? There was one Bulls team. And then later on, Kobe Bryant and the boys almost did the same thing, but with the same head coach. So we got to stop doing that, comparing everything to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick gonna go down as the greatest coach of all time. So let's stop using that measuring stick. And the reason why I got to pull that card on some of you guys is because y'all some of the same people who say Coach Tomlin ain't that great. So if that is the case, how do y'all expect to make, turn him into Bill Belichick if in theory you don't think the man is that good of a coach? See what happens with fickle fans? We got to stick to it. We got to stick to the real. We can't keep flip-flopping. So the reality is this. Where does the Pittsburgh Steelers have to change the most? The most. Situational football, both offensively and defensively. Coach Tomlin has to be better with his challenges. Did y'all hear this? I forgot to mention that earlier. They said that the Steelers are looking into possibly having somebody on staff to help them with challenges. Round of applause, Coach Tomlin. Thank you. Can we get somebody to help him out on managing timeouts and challenging plays? Thank you. Can we get that? But then defensively, we have to stop being so predictable, and we have to get better at disguising what we're doing. That's what Baltimore does well, and some other teams as well. Disguising. We have to stop this, start disguising and stop being so vanilla. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers problem. But honestly, guys, stats don't lie, man. Listen, I can't put all the blame on Butler and or Tomlin if we're talking about the coaching when I look at those stats. We have improved, but we haven't improved situationally. And I get it. I'm in full agreement with that, but I want you guys to understand exactly what I'm saying. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Don't take it for me saying that no, Butler should stay and no, Tomlin should stay. No, listen, I'm about the team. Whoever's going to make us a better team, whoever's going to help us get it done in situations, great. All I'm saying is we have to place the blame in all the rightful areas. And that starts with GM and owner for not opening up the wallet. Then it trickles down to coaching, being able to coach the guys you do have. But let's face it, look at that secondary. Again, I understand people are going to say, well, look at New England, whatever. I get all of that. But let's look at our team. Look at our starting 4 defensive backs. Aging Joe Hayden, who's done the best he can, but he's not the guy anymore that can run the way he once could. He's a number 2 now. Cody Sensabaugh is your number 2 cornerback. Mike Hilton, which is still an up and coming, but he wasn't phenomenal this year in coverage. Did good, but he wasn't phenomenal. And that's, I throw him in there as a starter because it's when we're in the nickel. But then let's look at our safeties. The other 2. Terrell Edmonds, a rookie, which many of you guys said he's not a cover guy. And Sean Davis, who's playing his 3rd position since being with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm just saying, listen, excuse me, the stats don't lie, man. We can blame Butler and them all we want, but I think I clearly showed you guys where A, we've improved on defense, and B, turnover ratio and things of that nature is the reason why we couldn't get it done this year. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. So I hope I've enlightened some of you guys on listen, it ain't always what you think. But let's take a look at the chat, man. I'll spend a few minutes here, man, and every time I say I want to run just 30 minutes, I seem to at least push it to 40-something, so we'll stay here a little bit longer. Eric McKenzie says, hell, with the drama with Bell, Brown, and Ben throwing players under the bus, I'm surprised Tomlin could keep the team together. He don't get enough credit for that, man. He doesn't get enough credit for that either. Roland Young said, it's time to spend some money. It is absolutely time to open that wallet. Nick Booman, I'm going to be a little worried about our offensive line next year. You're probably going to lose Foster and might cut Gilbert, and we just lost Munch. Yeah, good point. So I don't know about that situation. That's a good point that you bring up there, man. I'm not too worried about it, man, because, Surratt has been there the whole time, so I don't see a huge amount of drop-off. Foster says he would like to stay with the Steelers, man, and I'm hoping that he realizes that he can't get the pay that he would expect to get at his age, and he does a 2-year deal, and they can find, the right deal that works for everybody, and he stays in Pittsburgh. And Marcus Gilbert can go, to be honest with you, man. I like Marcus Gilbert when he's on the field, but he just hasn't been healthy. He just hasn't been healthy over the last 3 years, and other guys have stepped in and done well. Maybe Fowler will get a little better. Maybe Okafor, will produce as he gets older. And maybe now we look back at that pick when they picked Okafor and we all were scratching our heads like this. Now we see, okay, it worked out. We probably going to be looking at replacing Marcus Gilbert come this season. So there you have it. I just saw one. I missed it. Missed it. William Mallory says, Morgan doesn't want to be here. He really needs to go. Your analysis on that play is spot on. There are several plays that ended with the same result this year, jumping routes and bad communication. Thank you, man. I appreciate you saying it was spot on. But yeah, man, I tried to blame Mike Hilton for that out of emotion, right after the game. But as I've looked at it, that was Morgan Burnett. And again, listening to what Keith Butler said, who else could he have been talking about? Nobody else on that play jumped anything they weren't supposed to. So there you have it. Obi-Wan says, hey, Sim, Saints were robbed. Yes, they were. I expressed that a little earlier. Surprisingly, Cody Sensabaugh was rated the best in coverage by PFF. Yeah, Pro Football Focus, man. I pay attention to them with some things. Some of their things are a little outlandish. But I think all of us could agree. Cody Sensabaugh wasn't terrible this year. But at the end of the day, let's call it what it is. Cody Sensabaugh, none of us would be thinking that this guy would be your number 2 corner. I'm just saying. The fact that he is our number 2 corner and he was the best in coverage, that's saying a whole lot right there. What up, Debbie? I knew Debbie would be in here sooner or later. She's responding to the Gilbert situation, and I fully agree. Debbie says Gilbert didn't play all year. 16 games in 2 years. Waste of money. Hey, right on board with that, Debbie. Mariana Pompa says, hey, everyone. Hey, Sim, you're right. You're right, though, sir. If you think of every game, we always had a chance to win. We never got blown out. Most games were lost with us not making plays. Yeah, man. If we take our emotion out of it and we start looking at the situation, defense wasn't as bad as we thought. It hurt us. It just hurt us at the wrong time. Like, again, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're going to walk away from that game Sunday and say, man, our defense sucks. But the defense was 31st the whole year for the most part. And it's just that when it's a time when you need a stop and they don't do it, it just, it just blows all up right in front of your face, man. And it's all you can think of is that lasting impression. Tony says, we won't do it but since this is not a great draft, I would trade back to fill holes in the team. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if they will, Tony. I don't know if they will, but you might have a good point there, brother. Kenya says the team with the most picks is the Raiders. Tony, we need to do business with them again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Austin Pasquale says we need to be more aggressive. Enough with the conservative approach regarding self-grown talent. Whether that means trading up in the draft or signing a big-name free agent at cornerback or inside linebacker, etc. I couldn't agree more with that. We have to be aggressive. Point blank, period. We cannot continue to do the same thing we've been doing and expect any type of changes. Yeah, Leonard said yes, and today they fired their defensive coach. But Leonard, I'm gonna have to pick on you really quick. So you must not have listened to anything that I just said the last 15 minutes. Or, matter of fact, the last 20 minutes. Listen. And Debbie makes a good point. Would they have fired them if they would have won? But here's the kicker. They were ranked 31st. They had a horrible season defensively. That's a cumulative effect of why he probably got fired. It ain't just because of that championship game. That's a whole season. Again, I'll make it real short and sweet in case you missed what I said about 20 minutes or so ago. 2015, the Steelers were ranked 21st. 2016, 12. 2017, 5. And 2018, 6th. My point being is that though we don't always agree with Butler and Tomlin, whoever's running it, the defense improved. And that's the reason you hear Art Rooney come out and say, he even said this, and I meant to say this earlier, Art Rooney said himself just this past week that no, we've seen significant improvement. Now, of course, none of us want to hear that because we haven't gotten the job done like Tony said when we needed to. So, in all reality, what we need to do is they have to find a way to be better situationally. And if that doesn't work, you cannot renew the contract when it comes due. You have to move on because that needs to change. Because at that point, if it keeps happening and keeps happening again and again, I'm not going to care about total defense. I need you to make sure situationally you get the job done. So I'm just, okay, Leonard, never mind. Leonard not paying attention to what I'm saying. So Okay, I respect the opinion, but clearly you're missing the point of what I'm trying to point out. Roland says at least their defense can catch a pick. There you go. That's another thing. 13 dropped interceptions, the most in the year, in the season. The most out of any other team. See, this is what I'm saying. There's so many other factors other than just saying coaches don't put them in the right position. Nah, man. Players got to execute. Yes, again, let me say it one more time before I get out of here. Do I always agree with Butler? No. Y'all should know that. Y'all watch me every week. But I'm not going to sit here and act like that he's the total problem. Especially not after those stats I just laid out. The players got to make plays. They have to execute, period. And they didn't. And they didn't pick off the ball. The turnover ratio was -11. That's a big part of the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers defense sat at home in the playoffs. All right, man. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, man. So like I said, I see Cecil Clark says it's coaching. I value everyone's opinion. But if you came in a little later, you know, please go back and watch this. I want you guys to hear my breakdown as far as the stats and the areas that the defense has improved since 2015. And again, all I'm merely saying is after reading those statistics, I don't think any of us can sit here and blame the coaches solely. No way. With all those dropped interceptions, the -11 turnover ratio, Ben Roethlisberger throwing 16 interceptions. Okay? The defense jumping from 21st total defense all the way up to 5 in 2017 and then finishing out at 6 this year. The passing defense last year being 5th in the league, even though we were 10th this year. So that changed. But I'm just saying, go back and look at 2015 to now. I'm just saying, when you put all that together and the absence of playmakers, it ain't all the coaching. It's, you got to put it all together. You can't just come out and say coaching. You got to blame everybody. GM, coaches, players. We need better talent. And if Butler or if Tomlin does, you know, it's rumored some people are feeling like he might take the defense fully over this year. If at that point when they got the talent and they still ain't performing, then I'm ready to say, okay, time's up. So, there you go. Last one I'm going to read here. Kenya says, no, he didn't. That's why he didn't make the pro. Oh, okay, y'all are talking about a player. Oh, I'll read this one. Fatty Sino says he agrees, but Butler can't continue to have linebackers on receivers. I fully agree with you. But let me leave y'all with this real quick, and then I'm out of here for sure. I know we all watch more games than just the Steelers. How many times have y'all seen linebackers getting caught on wide receivers? Just think about it. It happens. Butler's problem is Butler is too predictable. Butler does it too and that's where I agree. Butler has to stop being so predictable and being so conservative, where teams can always catch you in that situation. But what we can't do is we can't act like that only happens to the Steelers. I've seen every NFL team in the league have a situation where there's a linebacker or a small safety up against the top. It happens. It happens. You know, that's the chess match of the NFL. But where I blame Butler is it happens way too much. You know, he has to come up with a better plan. But it definitely does happen. And I mean, we've benefited from that against other teams. But, yeah, there you go. Again, I'm not making any excuses for Butler. I'm just saying, listen, guys, do more than just have an off the wall or off the fly an opinion. You know, look at everything. I try to base my opinion on all of the factors that I can look at, all the factors that are tangible. You understand what I'm saying? So, there you go. That's all I got. That's all I got. All right, man, let me go ahead and get out of here. I've been on here way too long, man, dealing with you guys, man. You guys seem to love it, but these hour shows can't go on no more. I explained that to you guys a long time ago, man. I got to cut them down to a half hour. I knew this one would probably go a little long, but we got to cut these down. They're extremely too long, man, and the retention is just not high. You know, but all right, and whatever, Leonard, you know, I'll let you live in that. I know my boy Tony understands exactly what I'm saying, but you know how it is, Leonard. You know, once your mind is made, it's made, and whatever. So I hope you guys understood where I was coming from. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you enjoyed the stats I provided, and I hope you enjoyed the breakdown of the play, 3rd and 20 against the Saints, and showing you who really was at fault there. But outside of that, man, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on your notifications so you know when I am streaming and when I am available. And outside of that, hit that like button, man. Do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. It definitely helps me out. But until next time, man, hope you guys have a great week. And we'll talk to you on Tuesday unless something extremely important happens between now and then. All right, catch you guys later. Y'all be good. Peace.